Guys, welcome back to Doozy Talks with Susie. Today we're talking about vitamin D. Why do I care about vitamin D? There's hundreds of billions of vitamins out there. Why do I care? Well, because that was a very important vitamin that I learned about. I started learning about micronutrients when I was a teenager. And probably one of the best ones that I was learning about was the soy lecithin, because when you're experiencing a chocolate craving, what I learned as a teenager was, oh, you just need to take some lecithin and you'll be fine. Now, I don't know so much if that's the case anymore with all the learning I've been doing, but that was where I started with learning about the nutrients, micronutrients. And then I was homeschooled, so my mom had me go through these books upon books on nutrition and how you can help with different illnesses, or even just the common cold, natural remedies that would help with those things. It was awesome. It was cool, but that's where it all started at. And there was someone I knew as a teenager who was dealing with mental illness. And the one thing that was always encouraged was vitamin D. And I'm going, why vitamin D? Started learning about how it helps with mental illness. And it has a lot of other great health benefits. It also helps with your immune system. But how do you know if you're kind of low on vitamin D? What are the symptoms? And I'm not the doctor here. If you have the symptoms, go talk to your doctor, see what they can do to help you get what you need. But the most amazing, beautiful thing about vitamin D is you could just go outside for 10 minutes. If it's sunny outside, get some vitamin D that way. And there are some things about the sun, because we have like the UVB, UVA rays, and all of those. You've got to be careful. You don't want to get a sunburn. And there's also speculation about sunscreen. Does it really protect the skin, make it worse? There's talks of cancer. There have been actual studies done showing that certain of the sunscreens can cause cancer. Is it really actually beneficial to use sunscreen? What are some natural options? Personally, I use a specific mixture of essential oils to help support my skin, but that is something to look at. Now, I have a list here. If you have these symptoms, maybe you should look into talking to your doctor about getting your blood tested for vitamin D and get yourself gene tested, because even if you have vitamin D in your blood and it's registered as being in your blood, it may not actually be in the usable form that your body is able to use to help improve your health. So, physical symptoms. Let me turn on my fan because it is one of those days. Guys, we are hitting summertime in Arizona. It is coming. So anyways, physical symptoms: fatigue, low energy, muscle weakness or cramps, bone pain or aching, especially if it's like lower back, your hips, your ribs, or even your legs. Frequent illness or infections, like I mentioned earlier about having a lowered immune system. Slow wound healing. If you get hurt, injured, and it takes a while for that to scab over and get healed up, it could be vitamin D. Now, it could be other things as well. That's why I'm encouraging you to talk to your doctor, because maybe it's a zinc deficiency, because zinc also helps with healing wounds. Another one is hair thinning, hair loss. Mood. For the mood and mental illness, there's depression or mood swings, anxiety, brain fog or difficulty concentrating. Sleep and hormonal would be, I just had it, poor sleep quality. If you're not sleeping good, get your vitamin D checked. Hormonal imbalances can contribute to irregular cycles in women and low libido. If it's children or teenagers, you might see things like delayed growth, irritability or behavioral issues, rickets, which is a softening or weakening of bones. But the most subtle clues that you're going to notice is cold sensitivity, which is sometimes tied to thyroid interaction, skin dryness or dull complexion, or increased inflammation markers, like CRP or IL-6, on your blood test. So get a blood test, talk to your doctor if you feel like you have these symptoms of low vitamin D. Now, giving you all of that because for me, it has always been invaluable to know, oh, I have these symptoms. Maybe I have this, and then I can talk to my doctor about it. And then we can run tests and get things checked. Understand some of these symptoms can be other things. Like if you're dealing with anxiety, maybe your homocysteine levels are high, not necessarily you have low vitamin D. So make sure you're checking with your doctor, getting blood work done, getting the answers, checking your genetics, see if your genes are designed to methylate properly. Personally, for me, I have a gene mutation that has it difficult to use vitamin D. So first, it's hard for me to take it and then turn it into the usable form and like get vitamin D to do what it needs to do. So with all that being said, there's this one guy I've been watching for about probably 7 years. I came across him on YouTube and I originally started watching him because he's talked a lot about the keto diet and the benefits of things like eating eggs, eating meat, different things about carbohydrates. And he's this amazing doctor. And he'd been on his own weight loss journey and I had just started on mine. So I was trying to learn everything I could. I said, oh, I found a doctor. He knows his stuff. Let's see what he has to say. And every couple months, he makes a video about vitamin D. And if you follow him on X, you'll see stuff on X about vitamin D. So his name is Dr. Eric Berg, and he has done so much to help give me insight on health, nutrition, and how to go about helping myself naturally. And so I want to do this quick reaction video to the stuff that he's talking about. And if you notice that you've got some of the symptoms, if you notice maybe some of what he's saying is valuable to you, go ahead and look him up and watch his stuff. Try to see if you can get in contact with him. He knows a lot. So here we go. Let's do the screen share and let's go.
10,000 international units of vitamin D3. Is this a huge mistake or a miracle cure? You talk to an average person about vitamin D, they're probably used to taking 600 IUs of vitamin D3, sometimes up to 1,000, maybe 2,000. But when you talk about 10,000 IUs, some people actually freak out because 10,000 sounds like a very, very large number, especially compared to something like vitamin B1, which the recommendations for that is like 1.2 milligrams. If you were to convert 10,000 international units of vitamin D3 into milligrams, the number would only be 0.25 milligrams. That's only 1/4 of 1 milligram. Today,
Okay, I didn't know that actually. I just thought 10,000 that like sounds like a huge amount. And personally, I do take 10,000 a day, but along with like K2 to help with the absorption and stuff because my body needs that extra help. They work together to get things absorbed and telling the body what to do with helping vitamin D be able to do what it needs to do. But I didn't realize it actually like comes out to such a small amount whenever you look at it in terms of milligrams.
Today, we're going to talk about why an average person should be taking 10,000 IUs of vitamin D3 as a maintenance dosage every single day. Vitamin D is the most important vitamin. Why? Because it controls 10% of all your genetics. Over 90% of the population has less than 40 nanograms per milliliter of vitamin D3, which actually is on the low side. The guidelines for 600 international units of vitamin D3 were based on preventing rickets. They're based on supporting bone health and calcium in the blood. They're not based on supporting everything else that vitamin D does. Think about how many people are inside. People don't go outside anymore. And then you also have where you...
See, that's a good point. I would need to do the research on it, but most likely when that 600 IUs was suggested, we were spending a lot more time outdoors. And I even noticed for myself coming up from childhood that each year I would spend less and less time outside, especially during the summer months. I'm like, dude, it's so hot. And I just didn't want to be outside because it was too hot to go outside. And you notice that a lot where I live at because of how hot it is during the summertime. During the winter, you might see people out more often. I am starting to notice people like coming out more in the evening, even though the weather is getting warmer. And that's nice to see because then at least the children, they're still getting some of the vitamin D. Now, the 600 IUs. I do wonder when that guideline was made, because my guess is whenever that was made, when we were outside more. And what he's saying with 10,000, because the sun can give us a whole lot in just 10 minutes. So this was interesting to hear, find out.
You live. If you're living in a northern part of the world, it's very difficult to get vitamin D3. I want to explain something called the shadow rule. If you're outside and your shadow is longer than you are tall, you are not getting any vitamin D, just because of the angle where the sun is to the earth. You also can't get vitamin D through glass. So when you're driving your car and you're getting the sun through the glass, you're not
Yeah, I
getting
learned
any
that
UV
one.
that's creating vitamin D. The darker your skin, the less vitamin D you're going to absorb. Dark skin individuals need 10 times more exposure to the sun to get the same amount of vitamin D3. And if they don't get enough vitamin D3, some of the common symptoms you're going to get: lower back pain or achiness, especially that radiates into the hip or the thigh.
You know, that's something a lot of people ask me about too. They're like, "Man, why do I have low back pain?" And as a fitness coach, I'll be like, "Well, let's strengthen it. Let's focus on the muscle." Assuming it's just a muscle related issue, when it's like, wait a minute, there are vitamin deficiencies. The more I'm learning, there are vitamin deficiencies that can cause lower back pain. There are complications that come from having different gene mutations that can lead to lower back pain. It's not just always going to be an easy fix of just build the muscle up and everything will be fine. It's important to not just talk to your fitness coach. Yes, do the exercises because you need to do them, but keep
very
going.
Tight muscles in the lower back. Blood pressure will start to go up because something called nitric oxide, the thing that really controls blood pressure, is stimulated by vitamin D3. Another common symptom of vitamin D deficiency is depression or even anxiety. If you're low in vitamin D, your immune system cannot work. You're more susceptible to having just inflammation anywhere in the body. What about all these facial creams that women use? Putting sunblocker in so many facial creams and makeups now, it's just going to block your vitamin D3. In 1980,
that is so important to keep. Like, that's why I tell you, my skincare routine involves, I'll use essential oils, a special mix of essential oils that I mix myself in order to make sure that I'm not blocking out my body's ability to absorb the vitamin D that you get from the vitamin D3 you get from the sun. This is very important because that sunscreen and all the other things that are supposed to be helping keep our skin healthy and safe could actually be causing more harm than good, as it blocks out what we actually need for our skin to stay healthy and for our whole body to stay healthy with the vitamin D3.
Our whole society became sun phobic. We want to prevent skin cancer. Here's the problem: since 1980, melanoma has continued to go up. Obviously, the sun wasn't the cause of it, because most melanoma skin cancer occurs in areas of your body where you're not exposed to the sun. My viewpoint is that melanoma really comes from low vitamin D, but that's a different video. For all these functions in the body, especially the immune system, you need at least 10,000 IUs every single day, which is the same thing of being out in the sun for 20 minutes in the summertime. I mean, that's not toxic. There's
That's
a thing
not bad
called
at
vitamin
all.
D resistance. When they test your vitamin D in your blood, they're not checking the active form of vitamin D. They're checking this inactive form. Vitamin D has to go from the inactive to the active through various steps, and then it has to be accepted into the vitamin D receptor. There's a lot of things that block the.
And that's the gene mutation I have. Like, all three of those steps, my body's like, we struggle with this, and then this, and then this. So I really need it's slower with making things happen. And so I'm needing, and it's inefficient. So I might take 10,000 IUs, but my body's only going to use like this little bitty bit. So it is definitely a challenge on that end for my body, which is part of why I find this very important, because when you look again at all of the symptoms of vitamin D deficiency, I don't want to have to be dealing with that with my body. And I know I'm not the only person who has this. Both of my parents have it, because I got the mutations from both parents, not just one. So both of my parents also deal with this. And it's important to get these things checked out.
The vitamin D receptor. Genetics. A lot of people have genetic issues with the vitamin D receptor, and you can get your DNA test to figure that out. Another really big thing that will block your vitamin D absorption is plastics. This is a huge problem in our society right now. We are just being filled with plastics and other chemicals they call forever chemicals, which are interfering with our biological chemistry, especially the absorption of vitamin D3, as well as the production of testosterone. As you age, it's more difficult to absorb vitamin D because your skin is thicker. If you are overweight, have irritable bowel syndrome, or any inflammation in your gut, you're going to have a hard time absorbing vitamin D3. Being pregnant, breastfeeding, very, very important to take more vitamin D3. I would recommend 10,000 IUs every single day, and that's a very conservative number. On top of all of that, magnesium is the most important other nutrient to factor in when you're taking vitamin D3, because vitamin D3 won't work without magnesium, because as you increase your vitamin D3, the demand for magnesium goes up too. Vitamin D gives a broad spectrum of positive effects, helping prevent cancer to shrinking tumors, but you need therapeutic dosage to do that, any inflammation in the body, and especially autoimmune diseases. If someone has an autoimmune disease, which a lot of people do nowadays, they need much higher amounts of vitamin D3. There's a doctor in Brazil that specializes in autoimmune diseases. He has over 1,000 videos of before and afters using high doses of vitamin D3 for just about every single autoimmune disease that you can imagine. His wife had MS. Guess how much vitamin D she's taking on a daily basis? 100,000 IUs.
Oh my goodness, that's
every single day. If you're using vitamin D as a therapeutic effect for certain,
if you're taking that much vitamin D, how much magnesium do you got to take? Because like you said, the more vitamin D you're taking, you got to make sure your magnesium is balanced. If she's taking 100,000, how much magnesium would she be having to take to keep everything balanced? Because that seems like a whole lot.
certain diseases, I think it's important to work with a doctor that specializes in that knows about it, that can check various things in your blood to make sure that you don't develop too much calcium in the blood. But if you look at the data, you'd have to take hundreds of thousands of vitamin D3 for months to create this hypercalcemic effect. And I will put a link down below of a group of doctors that you can contact to see if you can work with one of them if you're trying to use therapeutic dosages to correct a disease. If you wanted a really good home test to be able to test yourself with vitamin D.
Now, look, that's the thing. That's why you want to always talk to your doctor. Don't start taking large amounts of something and just, yes, be wise, but then go talk to your doctor. You can look up information. You can be studying for yourself and figuring out different things, but then go talk to your doctor, bring in the data that you have, and work with the doctor on it to see what you can actually do for your health because too much vitamin D can cause a problem. And too little vitamin D will definitely cause a problem. So you want to make sure that you're working with a doctor during all of this.
Vitamin D, and you don't need a prescription for this. I put a link down below of a great company that can do that. It's through an organization that supports the science of vitamin D3, so there's a lot of great information, and I'll put their website down below. And then if it's too low, to find out what you can do to raise it and then maintain it at a certain level, because addressing this vitamin D deficiency is the lowest hanging fruit of creating the most health with the least amount of effort, money, complications, without risking any type of safety issues. It's completely safe. Our bodies were designed to get a lot of sun, but unfortunately nowadays, we don't get enough sun. We're going to have to change our lifestyle and get more sun, or at least take more vitamin D3. And I would recommend, as a minimum dosage, just as a maintenance dosage, 10,000 IUs of vitamin D3. I would make sure it also has K2, magnesium, and zinc with that vitamin D3.
So, let's bring me back up. There we go. So, all that being said, it is so important to make sure that you're getting your vitamin D every day. And what he was suggesting with the D3, K2, zinc, and magnesium to help with proper absorption of everything, that's literally what I take. I literally have a supplement that has all of 4 of those supplements in it to make sure I'm getting the proper dosage and the proper support that my body needs so I can get the most out of my vitamins. And then I also am trying to spend more time outside. The more I started watching myself and seeing how I do, I'm like, oh, snap. I really don't spend much time outside. So then trying to get more sun time outside, at least 30 minutes to an hour. I know you only need 20 minutes, but getting more, the more the merrier. Get a little tan or something. It's good. Getting the sun is good. Getting too much sun can be a problem. Then you get a sunburn. So you got to make sure that you pay attention to those things. Anyways, that was Dr. Eric Berg. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you agree, if you disagree, what you think on this. Do you take vitamin D? Look up his video. It's called 10,000 IU of vitamin D. Huge mistake. That's what his video is called. Look it up. Watch it for yourself. He posted links in there of different places you can look up online, doctors you can talk to, and research you can look at. Go ahead, look it up yourself. Let me know what you think. And I'll see you guys in the next video.